County fish boil. I'm the boil master here at the old post office. It's a real job title here in Door County, and I was born and raised right here in beautiful Door County as well. So I'm going to come out here and tell you guys a little bit about the fish boil and give you a little local history of Ephraim as well. So before you got here, I filled the kettle up with water, 35 gallons of water go into it, 3 cups of salt go in, and salt is the only seasoning you put in your fish boil. That'll season everything, fish, potatoes, and onions. You get your fire burning. It takes about a half an hour or so for the water to boil. Once your water is boiling, you start your timer at 30 minutes. Each one of these fish boils takes a half an hour. Potatoes go in first. You drop onions in second, depending on size. There are big ones and small ones. I put them in at different times. They look good to me. Last thing you put in the fish for 7 minutes is the fish. That's what I have right here. They're locally caught Lake Michigan whitefish. The fish are caught from the waters that surround the Door Peninsula, and they're caught both lakeside and bayside depending on time of year. We actually buy the fish direct from a local fisherman right here in Door County, which is kind of a neat thing. Rick Johnson is his name. He's been bringing us fresh whitefish for almost 40 years now. So just about every single morning, it's the spring, summer, and fall, he gets into his boat, goes out to his whitefish nets. They pull the nets in. He takes his catch back to his little processing facility in Gills Rock. Him and another guy clean the whitefish, meaning they head them, gut them, tail them, and scale them. And usually between 3 and 4 o'clock every day, he'll drop fresh whitefish right off at the back door of the restaurant. So we get them delivered just about every single day right now here in the summer. Now he will cut your fish up for you if you want, bring them to you already all cut up. Or you can buy your fish whole from them, and we buy them, and you cut them up all yourself. We actually buy the fish whole, and then I hand cut them all right with a razor sharp knife right before they go into the water. So I just finished doing yours. And the reason being, if you buy them already cut up, by the time you get them, they've already leaked a lot of their natural fluids and stuff out. So they start to shrink, and then when you boil them, they fall apart a lot easier. So they do come out cooked much better if you cut them up right before you go in. A lot more work for me, especially on busy nights like tonight where we're doing about 300 people. But that's the way we've always done it here. And I can cut up a lot of fish really fast. I have a super sharp knife in there. I'll walk around and show you what the fish look like. These fish that you guys are gonna eat tonight were caught yesterday morning out near Chambers Island. The fish that he caught this morning and brought in today were caught pretty much the same area. Those will get put in for the rotation for tomorrow. You almost always get the fish cooked one day after they're caught, but they rarely sit around for more than 2 days because we're constantly going through them, especially this time of the year. It's peak season right now. So, and this is not all the fish. There's exactly 100 people at this fish boil, so I have 3 baskets of fish loaded up. Reason being, you don't put them up, you don't cook them all at once because the whole thing is served like a buffet. So basically, you guys head in, I come back out and cook another basket of fish, so the people in the middle and the end of the line don't get 20-minute-old fish sitting up there. So it's a better way to do that as well. So there's constantly fresh fish being brought in. So there's no need to rush in once we do the boil over. You're gonna get fresh fish no matter where you are in the line. So that's just why you do that. So anyhow, I'll walk around and show you what they look like. And these are really nice ones. They're coming in real nice and fat right now too. These are like medium plus size whitefish. And there they are, caught yesterday by a local fisherman right here in Door County. And on an average summer, I boil about 35,000 pounds of these fish all out of that kettle, all by myself. There you go, pal. Wow. These are going for about 7 minutes, which should be right about now if my timer's right. 7:33, I'm a little ahead of the schedule. I'm gonna put them in anyway, just because they're a little bit bigger. Right. All right, now if you've never been to a fish boil, obviously it's quite a dine-in experience to say the least. Door County is definitely home to the fish boils. We've been doing traditional fish boils here at the old post office since 1978. Now it's our 40th year doing fish boils at this restaurant. We're actually one of the newer fish boil restaurants up here. It's an old tradition. This is my 5th year doing it at the restaurant. We do this no matter what, any type of weather conditioning. We've never closed down once in 40 years, so I've done this in a lot of nasty weather, including hailstorms. That's all for fish boil. We'll see more of that at the end. Now, if you never, this is an old Scandinavian tradition. The fish boils were started off by the Swedish and Norwegian immigrants up here in Door County back in the 1800s. Door County itself is very rich in Scandinavian heritage. You see it all over. We even have a Swedish restaurant up here. And Washington Island is the largest Icelandic settlement in the United States. We do have very rich Scandinavian heritage. Fish boils are a part of that. Most of the Swedes and Norwegians that came here in the 1800s, probably some of my ancestors, they were homesteaders. They got free land by the U.S. government to move up to the area to establish growth to the upper Great Lakes. Most of the men who came here worked as loggers. The peninsula itself was heavily forested. Even more importantly, the water, the natural harbors that surround the Door Peninsula made ideal conditions for lumber companies to send huge steamships up here. They could load up on tons and tons of harvested logs, and they could bring the logs down to growing cities like Green Bay, Milwaukee, Chicago, all connected to Door County by water. Now, the fish boils were probably never meant to be a tourist attraction like they are today. This would have been done by the fishermen and the loggers up here as an easy way to feed all the immigrants that were starting to settle up here on the peninsula. This is a remote area, remote peninsula on Lake Michigan. There was a lot of fish in the water. They used to use salmon and trout for this. They actually used to call it a Norwegian trout boil. Nowadays we use lake whitefish because they don't commercially fish salmon and trout anymore. But if you had some fresh fish, potatoes, onions, butter, salt, and a big kettle, you could do a fish boil. You could basically feed the whole town out of one of these. So that's how it all started off. It wasn't until around the turn of the century, however, people started to appreciate all the natural beauty up here. They quit logging the forests. They started designating land for state parks, including Peninsula State Park, which is right across the harbor, the very first designated state park in the state of Wisconsin. And they began building and opening the very first hotels and resorts. Including the Edgewater Resort right behind us, one of the very first to open here in the village of Ephraim in the year 1900. So right around the turn of the century, Door County started getting its very first tourists. Not like today where we get over 2 million up here every summer, because you came back up here back in the early 1900s, you would have came here on a steamship. The railroad ended in Sturgeon Bay. They didn't build highways or roads north of Sturgeon Bay until the early 20s, so they started bringing tourists up here from Chicago and Milwaukee during the summertime on steamships. That's how they got them up here. And if you were coming all the way up here from Chicago on a steamship, you weren't going to come up here and spend a long weekend like most people do nowadays. Most of the guests were very well off. They'd come up here and stay for a couple of weeks. Some would even stay for a couple of months. So that's how it was back in the old days. And hotels and resorts back in those early days, they were all inclusive. They included all your meals. They brought entertainers up, musicians. Well, some hotels started doing these Scandinavian fish boils for their guests here, and that's how the tradition of the fish boils got started off. So you can see we've been doing them for well over a century up here in Door County. It is one of our oldest traditions here in Door County, and it's kind of neat because you can date it all the way back to the very first European settlers up here in Door County. So that's how the fish boils got started. As of today, there are 5 different fish boil restaurants that do this nightly throughout northern Door County during the summer, which probably means there's about 5 fish boil restaurants in the entire world, because I've never heard of one outside of Door County. A couple things that make ours a little better. First of all, you get the fish fresh, whole, delivered daily by a local fisherman, and then I cut them all up right before they go in that water. They come out cooked way better for you guys. We also add an onion to our fish boil, which some of the other ones don't include. So there's an onion in the kettle for every single one of you. Everyone loves a boil or onion. You get the beautiful watery view here at the old post office. We overlook beautiful Eagle Harbor, Peninsula State Park, and Horseshoe Island. So enjoy the water view while you dine tonight. Keep in mind, these fish came out of that water just yesterday morning, which is always kind of nice to know when you're dining on some local fish. Now, one thing about the fish that throws people off are the fish bones. Bones are part of the fish boil. However, we are the only fish boil restaurant here in Door County where the servers debone the fish steaks for you using 2 forks, which is a really nice thing, especially for children. They'll come right to your table, they use 2 forks, they debone the whitefish right in front of you, which is really, really nice. Is there a rougher made for 11 people here? Nope.
Yes.
Okay, they're here. All right, get back at it. Where was I? Oh yeah, another thing about our fish boil that makes ours a little bit better, we do homemade, everything is homemade by Tammy, the owner. She's inside, you'll see her. She bakes cherry pies in the morning for you. You're gonna have those for dessert. She makes all the artisan breads from scratch daily that you're gonna eat. She makes her own coleslaw, makes her own vanilla custard. So everything is homemade by her and I, and she does a great job on her end as well. Finally, you get 10 minutes from myself of fish boil talk, because I do about 400 fish boils every summer, and I come out here every night and tell the crowd everything I can about the fish boil. So now you know the whole story behind it. There you are. The last thing you do at one of these is the boil over itself. The fish are starting to cook, they start to release oil, kind of creates like a foam and scum across the surface of the kettle. To get rid of that, you can take them inside and hose them down, or you can grab a can of kerosene and throw the whole thing on the fire, and the whole kettle will boil over itself, taking all that ash, oil, and dirt with it. So it's much more fun for you folks. You get a good picture out of it. So have your cameras ready in about 1:35, and after the boil over, you're gonna head inside and eat. Head back in between the 2 buildings, enter the restaurant through the front door. The whole thing's served like a buffet. You get fresh fish, potatoes, onions, melted butter all over that, homemade bread, homemade coleslaw, and cherry pie for dessert. So you'll leave your very full. Also on your way through, due to the county, new to the peninsula, grab one of my flyers I print off for everybody. There's a lot of fun things to see and do up here you may not know about. One place you may want to check out even tonight after the boil is Fred and Buzzy's. You can go watch the sunset up there and have a drink on the beach. It's gorgeous up there. They have a cherry margarita in the house drink. And if you've never been on a boat here in Sister Bay, or Door County, Sister Bay is a brand new tour boat. They do 4 tours a day, very affordable. Kids ride free on this thing, and it's awesome. It's a great way to get out and see the islands and bluffs that surround the peninsula. Try getting out on the water while you're here as well. It's a great thing to do. I also have a tip kettle. Tips are always appreciated, so thank you for that. Have your cameras out in about 10 seconds, and we're going to boil it over, and you're going to head inside and eat. Sound good?
Ready to be hot?
Okay.
It's going to bring it
I got
right
a nice
on top.
big one loaded up for you because it's a little post 4th of July firework. How about that?
You ready for hot, Drew?
One last firework.
Oh, we were in front.
Ready, guys? Yep. 1, 2, 3. And it even puts the fire out for you. Hope you guys enjoyed the fish boil. Enjoy your meal tonight, folks.
Boil it over. Oh, look at how they get it out.